All right, well, we're going to get started with our first speaker who's going to come and give us the welcome. And this is Cher Zavik. She is the president of Immuno Laboratories, and she's co-founder of Better Health USA. Cher is a clinical nutritionist with over 33 years' experience. Physicians and their patients have relied upon her to interpret their laboratory test results, nutritional supplementation, and even provide tips on nutrient support before and after surgery. Cher co-authored the Personalized Immunohealth Guide and DVD program offered through Immuno Laboratories. So please welcome with me our dear president, Cher Zavik.
You're the best. Oh, you heard that. You know, the first time I was asked to stand before people and talk was when I was 24. And I was working for a physician at the time, and he said to me, would you go ahead and be a moderator for this event that we're having at the Curtis Hickson Hall in Tampa? And I said, sure, I'll do that. And a couple weeks later, he said, okay, here are the speakers that you're going to be introducing on the panel, and you need to come up with the questions that are going to be provided for the speakers. I said, oh, okay. And he said, and he started laying out this whole plan of what I was going to be doing. And I realized I didn't think I was qualified to do this. And he said, wait a minute, you already said you're in. And I said, okay. I immediately went out and joined Toastmasters so that I could learn how to do this. And from that very humble beginning, of the first time I ever stood in front of people, there was about 1,353 people registered at that event. So even with a group of this size, I still get nervous. So for all of you that are going to be speaking, I understand. But I'd like to welcome all of you here. This is our second time that Immuno Laboratories has sponsored an event such as this. Last year we sponsored an event, and what we wanted to do was introduce physicians to this idea of corporate wellness. We had presenters talking about absenteeism and presenteeism, and what's the difference between the two. And so the physicians became aware that corporations are looking for physicians to help them lower their healthcare costs. And at the same time, the patients of the physicians, who are the employees of the corporations, they are getting a benefit also, because they in turn are getting well. They're able to work, they're able to be more productive, they have better lives, their lifestyles are improved, their ways that they're dealing with their families and how they're dealing with their own personal life becomes enriched. It is a win-win for all sides. So when we finished that conference, Jeffrey and I did some little closing remarks, and we said, hey, what did you guys think about that? You like it? And they said, well, how are we going to do this, Immuno Labs? Who's doing it? How are they getting into corporations? What's the roadmap? What therapies are they using? So we said, oh, you want us to figure that one out? So we said, okay, the journey began. Mr. Zavik and I started in February. And for 6 weeks, we traveled the nation, the United States, not the world, the nation. We went from the Hawaiian Islands to Lenox, Massachusetts. We went from Seattle, Washington, and Grand Rapids, Michigan, all the way down to Corpus Christi. We were in 17 states, 26 cities. We visited 42 doctors, and we covered 17,897 miles. But who's counting? And what we did was we kept asking some of the same similar questions of the physicians. What are you doing in your practice? What is working? How is it working? Who is getting involved? How are you making the connections? And physicians were reporting back to us in our one-on-one conferences. And by the way, Jeffrey and I will be indebted to you physicians that spent the time with that. And we learned so much. You don't know how much we learned, not only about yourself, your practice, how you deal with your patients, which we're just amazed at the humanity that's out there. And we heard overwhelmingly from you physicians how you need more help. You need more doctors. So we took all this information and we came back and we turned it to Collie Jones. We said, okay, Collie, we need to put our conference together with the physicians that will show us how do we get into corporations. How are we going to help teach the physicians that want to know how to get into corporations, the tools, the procedures? And you're going to learn that this morning. In fact, we have first up right after I'm talking, Dr. Noe and Dr. Denise Warden. We're going to be talking about corporate wellness. You're also going to have a panel up here with Dr. Takamoto talking about, with two people that are in two different corporations. How did it work? How is it working? They're also going to learn about some of the practice development items. How do you take this and put this into your practice? How do you incorporate it into your practice? And then tomorrow, we're going to go through the therapies. Okay, so this is what we're supposed to do, but I don't know how to do it. We have set up workshops so that you physicians can be in the workshops and learn how to do these particular therapies, how you can do these particular procedures, and incorporate them as complementary to your practice that you already have. So we said, ooh, okay, so did we go ahead and do everything that the doctors wanted us to do? Oops. You wanted to be recognized. You wanted to be qualified. You wanted to get credit for attending it. So we have our CMEs, CEUs that are out here so that you can get it. So not only are we going to give you the presentation of all the questions that you asked, we're going to give you the information and we're going to give you credit for it. And I would like to applaud Collie Jones for putting this together. Go ahead, stand up, take a bow. So, with that, this little news blip that came to me, tell you how your children can become so involved with your business. My son, who is sitting over here in Australia, sends to me this little article and he says, hey, Mom, did you see this? And this was written on the 28th of October, and it's out of Time magazine. And the Center of Disease Control has surveyed 9,500 families that have children under the age of 18. And they did a survey to find out what is this with food allergies, what is this going on with children, because it's rising. And they are seeing that there is this big influx that it used to be 1 in 26 children, now it's 1 in 40 children. And so the Center for Disease Control is saying, you know what, I think we better create a study on this, and I think we better look at some of this. And you will be hearing tomorrow afternoon Dr. Warden, who is doing a study of similar venue on this. So I think what we've done is we're going to answer your questions for you, and I think I've given you what we need to give you at this time, except for last but not least. We would like to award some of the physicians that have taken in their practice and embedded into their protocol the right food is the first and best medicine for their patients. And what we did is we're looking at the way that the doctors do it, the procedures that they have in place, and I would like to read what this says here. It's a Gold Medal Practice Award. And by the way, Immuno Laboratories sponsors Gold Medal Practice Awards in our facility periodically through the year. But it's in recognition and appreciation for educating patients and integrating into your practice protocol the right food is your first and best medicine for 2008. And this award will go to Dr. Curtis Takamoto Gentil. Would you please come up, sir? Ooh, big step. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome.
This is awesome. You are awesome. We thank you. We're going to hear more about Dr. Takamoto
Thank you
in just a little bit this morning. The second recipient of the Gold Medal Practice Award goes to a lady in California. She has been doing some incredible patient education in her facility. And I asked her, I said, so when a patient comes into your office, what do you do? And she says, well, they start with saying, I have a headache, or I have this particular problem, or I have this particular issue, and I'd like you to treat me for that. And she says, the first thing I do is I just take all that paperwork and I slide it to the side. And I ask them, what'd you have for breakfast? What'd you have for lunch? What have you eaten for dinner last night. And she starts first with finding out what is the food that's going in so that she can pull that layer away and really get to the bottom line of what is going on with the patient. And this award goes to Rita Ellithorpe. Has she arrived yet? She's a speaker tomorrow morning. She comes in tonight. Well, I think we should just give her a round of applause anyways. Now, I knew the next recipient was not going to be here, and she is also in California. She does work with children and foods, and she's been studying different specific foods on children and different specific diets that children are eating and how are they affecting them. She also does a lot of work with hyperbaric oxygen and children and allergies. And you're going to hear more from Dr. Harch tomorrow about hyperbaric oxygen. But this goes to Dr. Karima Harani, and she will be here. Oh, no, she's not going to be here. So we should give her a round of applause. And the last recipient goes to a gentleman up in the Washington area. And he said to us when we were in his office, he said, getting into practice and figuring out everything that needs to be done, you kind of wonder, where do you start? What do you do? And he came to a meeting that we had in Fort Lauderdale, and he said, I'm just going to start with these foods, and I'm going to just take these patients, everyone that comes into my office, and start working through them. And I asked him last night, I said, so how has it worked for you, building a practice and starting a practice and helping it to grow? And he said, well, it's quite interesting. He says, the month of September, I was booked, a couple weeks out. He says, and I really don't like that because I like patients to be able to come in and see me whenever they can. He said, even now, he says, it's great. He says, it's a whole new way of doing and working with patients and foods in your practice. So this award goes to Dr. John Nowicki. If you would please come up here. It's a long road, isn't it?
Dr. Ned. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
So, Ms. Jones, we're going to turn this back over to you. And I thank each and every one of you for being here. And the recipients of the awards, you people are doing great. Keep up the good work.